regulated my hormones, my cycle, boosted my libido. And 4 months into this company, I found out I was pregnant. I was very sick, feeling an exhaustion, brain fog. I felt inflamed and really bloated everywhere and so impatient. I went to see a naturopath, and she was the one who was like, "Oh, you're in perimenopause." I really hadn't heard of it before.
The menopause makes you feel old, and then you're sweating, and then you don't have libido. It all just makes you feel not that attractive. I remember going to the doctor and saying, "Give me the hormones now."
All of our lives are shifting. If you're a mom and your kids are maybe leaving, your career is shifted, everything is changing. And so it's a real opportunity to dig in and be like, who am I? Who am I now? The most important part is to realize you can take agency of your story. This doesn't have to be a thing that just happens to you. You can take back control of this. There's a community you can be a part of. You're not alone.
What would you say to that woman who is starting to have symptoms? It's maybe in her early 40s or mid 40s.
Well, a great place to start.
At All Golden, we believe beauty doesn't have an expiration date. So if you're a woman 45 or over and you're noticing that your skin is looking a bit drier and crepier, maybe not behaving the way it used to, your products aren't working the way you want them to, your gray hair is getting a bit wiry, come check out All Golden. We celebrate women no matter what age or what chapter of life you're in. But we do know there are specific skincare and hair care needs at this age that are often not addressed with the lines that are out there in the market right now. All those lines talking about anti-aging are so negative, where we try to focus on the positive and looking on the outside the way we feel on the inside, vibrant, youthful, and beautiful. Check out All Golden. We're not like every other line. Go to allgolden.com, where we celebrate age and we celebrate beauty and sexiness, no matter what chapter of life you're in. Hi, I'm Sarah Kugelman with Going Golden, and today I have Chelsea Etheridge here. So excited for this conversation. It's really right in our sweet spot for Going Golden. Chelsea started a company a year ago called Not Young. It's a supplement business that focuses on perimenopause and menopause. So we are going to dive into this conversation today. And I'm just going to say that Chelsea is pregnant with her 6th child due next week, just moved, is in the process of building a company. So I'm inspired and amazed. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You know, it's interesting when I was sort of reading your bio and your background, it sounds like it all came about from a feeling of being lonely, lost, needing a spark. Can you take us back to that moment and talk a little bit about why that sparked a new business for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of a long story. I'll try to make it short for you. But I did grow up in the supplement health space. So my dad was a naturopath. He had a health food store. At some point in the 90s, he created his own line of products. So that is something that I had been a part of. This wasn't this brand new space for me. And then he passed away suddenly. It was Valentine's Day. It's been 6 years ago. And just from that moment, my life really flipped overnight. I had been a stay-at-home mom. I have 5 kids who are homeschooled. We were getting so many questions about his products. And my brother and I thought, okay, let's just bring those to the market. Let's start an e-commerce brand. We had no experience in our heads. This was just going to be this really easy, no big deal thing. And so we kind of started that, and I was just helping when I could. It wasn't a major part of it. And then my husband one day just came home from work. He's an outdoorsman, and he works really hard. And he came home and laid down in bed and was just feeling really tired. And I never really was able to get up again after that point. And it took us a long time to get this diagnosis. And it turned out to be like this rare form of leukemia. So I kind of had all of these things that were just happening at once that were altering my life so much. And so after we were figuring out, okay, this is what's happening, here's how we are going to try to proceed, it was like, you need to stay home with the kids because you can't go do what you did. And I'm going to go work this supplement business. That's really what got me into that. And it was a legacy supplement business, and it was all based off of my dad and incredible products, but like really geared towards kidney stones and acid reflux, things I don't have. And I didn't really like connect to this
you couldn't
audience.
relate to.
Yeah, exactly. But it taught me so much. And everything I did was brand new. And I love to learn. I love it so much. So at the end, we sold the majority of the company maybe like a year and a half ago. And I felt like I loved everything I did with this. It's just, it wasn't for me. It wasn't my customer. And so I really wanted to take this legacy that my dad left me, but it be mine as well. And so that's kind of what was sparking the idea of Not Young. At the same time, probably everything that I had been through really had just screwed my hormones up. I was very sick, feeling an exhaustion, like I feel like I can't even explain, brain fog, this weight that I'm a very small person, but just overnight I felt like, oh, what has happened? I felt inflamed and really bloated everywhere and so impatient and just my mood.
Do you think that was from the stress?
I think it was. I think it was the stress. I also turned 40 at the time. So I went to see a naturopath from Canada that I had worked with before with our supplement business, who I just trusted and loved. And she specialized in women's hormones. And she was the one who was like, oh, you're in perimenopause. And I really hadn't heard of it before. Menopause, sure. Like that was a thing, but that's so later in life. It didn't apply to me, it was just like, So that led me into research, which just led me to be like, this is a space that women need to be talking about. This is serious. Like this has altered my life and I needed help. And her protocol was working. After a couple months, I was feeling so like just a drastic change from what I had been feeling. So that's kind of what sparked it all. And then I worked with her.
On Going Golden, we've been talking a lot over the past episodes about perimenopause, menopause, and how women are just really have been caught off guard, don't have a lot of information, haven't had this conversation with their mother or their sister, and sort of navigating this whole space alone, feeling a bit desperate and like they don't have answers. I mean, I know that was the case for me. And, you have now been diving into this for similar reasons. So, what are some of the things that you've learned and made you want to create a business where you could connect with other women about this?
I am just genuinely curious and I love connecting with people. And I was so excited to connect with women in my space and age. And especially I don't know if you were active on Instagram, like when your kids were young, but it was such like a place where we all were and we're raising kids and then our kids get older and teenagers. And so you're not going to post anymore, right? Like that's not our lives to share. So most of us are gone. And then everyone's busy with sports and all the things and just community seems to go away. And I really thought we're just going through this alone. Everyone is going through this so alone. They're feeling so lost. Their bodies have changed. And I really wanted to try to make a space for that. And one that felt, I'm going to say this with air quotes, but one that felt cool. Like I was not seeing a brand that I felt I connected to. Like they felt old and not where I was. So I think that was really my goal and my hope was to kind of create a space there for us.
Yeah, I feel like the first time I heard the word menopause from my doctor, like that I was going through menopause, I thought, like I wanted to look behind me and see who she was talking to. I felt
Right?
like that wasn't me. That's like what an old person goes through.
I
How could
know.
I be going through menopause? But, I
Same.
was 50 and I just thought that wasn't going to happen for a couple of years, but I didn't realize that was sort of the average age when it starts to happen. Talk a little bit about the symptoms you were having and sort of what you've learned other people are experiencing when they're going
Yeah.
through perimenopause.
So for me, the worst ones, like I didn't have the hot flashes. I had some night sweats like every now and then, but those weren't my main symptoms. So it was exhaustion, it was weight gain, it was brain fog. This is mom brain right now.
You have a lot of hormones all going on at the
Yes.
same time.
Oh, mood. It was my mood. I wanted to be, and I think most moms can relate to this, or just women in general. Like, we're trying to be everything to everybody, and we work really hard at that. And I felt like I just was failing. I could not get my mind to do the things I needed it to do and to be that person that I really wanted it to be. So those were mainly my symptoms. But since I've gotten into this space, like when I first began, I thought, okay, everyone is going to be talking about hot flashes and sleep. And as I've really gotten in and I've gotten to know these women, it is mood and it is weight gain. They're just not feeling themselves. A lot of them are feeling very dismissed. Most women who have written me, and I have so many messages like this from women who have gone to the doctor and they're either put on an antidepressant or birth control, and they're not given any type of information or comfort.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. That immediately people women are prescribed antidepressants, and it's like there's a range of symptoms. I think people, to your point, associate like hot flashes and, night sweats with menopause, but there's a whole range of symptoms that are not necessarily talked about or considered part of menopause. It's so funny. The other day I was thinking, I've been feeling so full every time I eat. I don't know what that's about. Like I just eat a little bit and I feel so uncomfortably full. So, I asked Siri, is it possible that that's connected to menopause? And then I get a whole listing on my phone. Yes, it's very connected. And I've never even heard of that before. But now every time I feel something, I just look it up and see if it's connected to menopause.
And
And
it's
sure
like,
enough,
new allergies and itching and itchy ears. It's kind of these like weird things. But then once you see and you're like, oh, that's a symptom. I have that, and you can really start connecting those pieces for yourself.
yeah, I think too, when you have symptoms and you don't know what's causing them, it does lead to depression and frustration and sadness and loneliness, because you're like, what's wrong with me? Why don't I feel good? Why don't I feel the way I used to feel? What's wrong with me? And you can really go down the rabbit hole and start to isolate. So I think those feelings, I hope that women who listen to this feel like there's solutions and there's help and there's insight out there, and that there are people like you and businesses like yours that are really trying to connect with women and provide comfort and solutions. I think it's so needed and such a great mission.
Thank you. We didn't even mention libido, but I know that was for me, and that is for a lot of women, and that not having that desire there, that can really play on your mind as well. So that's one that I had forgotten, but is very real.
It's very real. And I think like you're going through all these symptoms that make you feel sort of not womanly, like the menopause makes you feel old, and then you're sweating, and then you don't have libido. Like it all just makes you feel sort of like not that attractive.
Yes.
I mean, I remember going to the doctor and saying, give me the hormones now.
And that's a great option too. Like, that's a wonderful option, but not everybody needs HRT right away. That can still take months to figure out and to get your dosing right. And some people just aren't comfortable with that. So taking a chance on a natural solution, there is no harm in it.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. Like, I think there's lots of different avenues and solutions, and depending on, it's such an individual and sort of personal decision. So tell us how you came up with your combination of ingredients and got to develop this supplement.
It's the exact protocol that the naturopath I was seeing put me on, except I was taking 7 different bottles.
Yikes.
I hate taking pills anyway. And so I was going to do it because I was desperate, but it was expensive. It was obnoxious. And I was like, okay, I know how to do this. Like, I've done this before. I know how to work with a naturopath, formulate, get with a chemist, get clinically backed dosing to make sure you have enough of that ingredient to do the thing. I'd worked with a manufacturer, so I know like the supplement business is a little shady. Like, you got to find a good manufacturer. So I knew how to do that. I knew how to be, even though I'm not pushy at all in real life, like I knew you just have to be if you're going to want like great sourcing and organic ingredients and no fillers. So I felt like I was so not the person to do this. Like, my confidence was not there, but I also knew that I knew how to do it and I could do it well. And so I think that kind of pushed me, and it's been such a learning opportunity about myself.
Yeah, no, I think that's such a great message to send to women, because I think, unfortunately, a lot of women going into business or attempting, something entrepreneurial, there's issues and challenges a lot with confidence and sort of the imposter syndrome. And so I think that's extremely common amongst women, and particular to being a woman. Like, we think, oh, I don't know, this isn't me, I'm not aggressive enough. And that's, honestly part of the reason why there aren't more female entrepreneurs that have bigger businesses, because we don't think big enough and we don't get the funding. And so this is something I speak about a lot as a serial entrepreneur. So I really, I think you're bringing up just a lot of thoughts and feelings that are just so common.
Yeah, I fight it every day.
Yeah, I think we all do. I mean, I'm on business number 4 and I'm still fighting it. So,
incredible.
It's really a thing. So talk a little bit about some of the ingredients that are in your supplement. I'm so curious.
So what I love about it is a lot of the perimenopause or menopause supplements out there. I mean, me as someone who has grown up in this space, I can look at and be like, oh, okay, you bought that formula, or you Googled the top 4 ingredients for perimenopause. Like, there's really nothing to it. But what I love about this, it's so real. This has been her protocol for women in perimenopause for almost 20 years. So it had time to be like, yes, this works. But also it's a combination. So you're getting adaptogens, which we're going to need for the mood. It's got your ashwagandha and an herb called schizandra, which I love a lot. And that just really helps kind of calm your cortisol in your body. Then it has herbs that are known to help with your hormone balance. So red clover, chase tree berry, hops is in there. And then there's vitamins as well. So we've got your magnesium and your B6, and your body really needs those during this time. So that's what I love about it, is we're coming at it from all angles to really hit the root cause and to get everything back in balance.
I love it. Those are such amazing ingredients. I also have a skincare line called All Golden.
Yes.
And it is for women over 45, and it is chock full of adaptogens, including ashwagandha, which, as it turns out, are really good for your skin, as well as taking internally. Who knew? But again, for this changing time in our lives, so we have like ashwagandha, we have amla, we have a couple of different adaptogens that are really ginkgo biloba, really, really good for the skin too. So, I think we're going to see more of these types of ingredients treating and being used as solutions for women going through all phases of menopause.
And you can be like, these have had thousands of years of research behind them. I'm sure you felt the same way. Like, this isn't some new thing you're going to learn something shady about in a little bit. Like,
yeah, right. Exactly. People have been taking them for years and years and years. So we have history and track record on them. Do you hear from women all over the country or just more locally? Or, how do you find your customers?
Yeah. Okay. So yes and no. Like, we only ship in the US right now, but on social media, I get to hear from people all over the world. And so that's been really fun. But yes, as far as my customers, they're largely US and they are all over the States. So every day my husband does all my shipping for me, which is incredible. But he's always gets so excited about all the different states that they're coming from. So it's really fun.
And how did they learn about you?
I think there's a couple ways. One, I started a podcast as well. So Not Young, Better. And that has been the scariest thing, maybe even scarier than starting the business, was starting the podcast. I got that advice from someone in marketing. They were like, oh, you should start a podcast to grow your business. And I thought that was hilarious. I am so shy. I'm not a talker. But then when it came down to it, I was like, well, I do love to hear people's stories. I love it so much. You're probably the same way. And I had a lot of friends in the influencer space that I knew would be generous and come on. And then it's kind of grown from that. So I had these women come on and just talk about this phase of life. It didn't have to be necessarily their symptoms. It could just be, what is parenting like at this stage of life for you? What is sex like at this stage of life? And then we've had experts come on. Sometimes I'm raising teens as well. So I'm like, oh, I want to know about this. So let me find an expert to come talk to me about that.
What would you say has been like the most surprising thing you've learned about perimenopause?
I think the most surprising thing that I've learned is just how many women are really like hurting by it. I think I was surprised by how affecting it is and how isolated they felt.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that things are getting better, that there is more information out there and more solutions?
I think it is getting better. I think we're really on like the cusp of it, but there's still so far to go. Like, there still hasn't been hardly any change in how much they're teaching in medical school, which is like an hour and a half for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's still a long way to go, but it is a
issue.
Conversation now, which is big.
Yeah. I mean, I read there was an article recently in the paper about how they're taking off the study of menopause off the curriculum for doctors who are going through medical school. Like, it's truly extraordinary. Yeah, it's not being funded. It's crazy.
So that's not getting better. That is getting worse.
Yeah, no, that's actually going to get worse. But I mean, what would you say to that woman who is starting to have symptoms, is maybe in her early 40s or mid 40s and confused about what's happening? What should she do? Like, where's a good place to start her journey?
Well, a great place to start. I always think the most important part is to realize like you can take agency of your story. Like, this doesn't have to be a thing that just happens to you and you just let happen and it's out of your control.
I love that.
You can take back control of this, and there are options and there's a community you can be a part of. Like, you're not alone and you can do something about this. You do not just have to suffer through it.
That's amazing. So maybe the first thing to do is to find a community you connect with, like online or in social media.
Just talk about it. I feel like I'm at the soccer fields and visiting a mom and she's like, oh, I've been feeling this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah. I mean, I think for women that are moms, that's where we do a lot of our connecting, is in mom, like when we're watching sports for our kids or at a school event, or, we start talking about those things. Or, I would say too, I work out a lot. So I end up connecting with the women that I exercise with. And we tell each other things that we don't even tell our closest friends, but because there's something about that, like working out and sweating together, that bonds you together.
I love that. See, there's a community right there.
And I think it's interesting. I mean, that there's also a naturopath way to go with all of this versus just Western medicine. And I think, again, like that's a personal decision, but there's lots of options out there in both areas of this study.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you.
There's so many wellness brands out there. What do you think was missing, and, what inspired you to do your own thing?
It has gotten even more popular in the 1 year that I've been launched. But at the time when I was like, this is what I'm going to do, there was really only like 4 major players in the perimenopause space. And one of them was run by like a 19-year-old boy from Australia. So I'm like, I mean, he's killing it and that's incredible. Great for him. And the rest were all celebrity driven, which is great as well. Like, sure, give me a celebrity on my team. But at the same time, I know that they're getting paid for that, like they don't really know their product and they didn't fight for this to be something so good. And so for me, it was like, what if it was important that it was a woman who was going through it and who knew what it felt like and who was a part of every piece of it? Because it's not just I needed it and I know other women needed it.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's so true. Can you talk a little bit more just about like when does perimenopause generally start and how long does it last for? And then when do you go into menopause? Like, I think a lot of people have questions about that.
Yeah, so I think that's the most alarming part. You can start really feeling these symptoms as early as 37 is what they're saying. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of women who are in their 30s and who are already feeling this. And then it can last up to 10 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time. So like definitely you don't want to just sit on it, It can last a long time. And then really the part about menopause was so confusing to me because menopause is technically just one day. Like it's one day that you haven't had a cycle. And so that's just a little bit different. But those symptoms can still continue post-menopause. Like a lot of women I've spoken to, I had Jane McCann on the podcast and Heidi Clements, and they're in their 60s and still having hot flashes.
Yeah, no, I mean, it can really go on for a long time, or you can not have it and then you can end up having it later. Like I think it's really individual. Like everybody experiences a little bit differently.
And it's very affecting. So.
Yeah, very, very affecting. I think it's interesting too that you're on the one hand having this whole conversation about perimenopause, but you're pregnant.
Yeah.
Do you find that that's sort of conflicting, or
like it feels a little bit like a joke on my on my whole life? So what happened, I'll just tell you, is the baseline works. Exactly. My oldest is 18 and my youngest is 10. And I really felt like, okay, this is a great time for me. Like they're all doing their thing. I know that my role as mother is still so important, but is shifting. This is a good time for me to like build and get this opportunity to grow. And then regulated my hormones, my cycle, boosted my libido. And 4 months into this company, I found out I was pregnant.
That is so amazing.
So it's been a little tricky. It did take me a little bit to kind of like rally my mind for it. It was a chapter we definitely thought was closed.
So in a way, I'm so envious as I have a child going off to college. I'm like, now I'm like, please have kids really early.
I know. We were kind of waiting. We were like, yeah, we'll be grandparents in a couple of years, But now that it's so close, I just can't get over it. Like what an incredible gift that I get to do this again at this chapter. And honestly, I have a lot of people who are wanting to get pregnant in this stage of life. So that's been one of the biggest responses I've had is they want to know, like, is this going to help me get pregnant? So it had a different response than I expected.
If you're comfortable saying your age, I'd love for you to tell people how old you are.
I'm 42. So I started, like, my symptoms really showed up at 40. And I'm 42. I guess I started having kids kind of young, but
That's amazing. Well, I had my first child at 43, so
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. So I was very, very lucky. Yeah, I started trying to get pregnant around 39, and I was sort of like not realizing that I was on the later end of the curve and how difficult it was actually to get pregnant around that time. I just sort of ignored it and lived in my own like delusional world, just thinking like, oh, I'm going to get pregnant. It won't be a problem. And I did, do a couple of things like acupuncture, and I took some supplements and things. And sure enough, I got pregnant at 42.
Incredible.
So
I love
I'm
that. Well,
extremely
I would
grateful.
love to learn from you because I'm a little nervous. I'm like, oh, postpartum and perimenopause at once. That feels like a big, ask on a body. But how did that go for you?
It's really funny. I felt a lot like the hormones my body was generating when I was pregnant made me feel really young and youthful and energetic in a lot of ways. And I was so excited to have a child that I think when she was born, I just was so energized and just the wonder of it. I mean, I think no matter how many kids you have, right? Like you just have that feeling of wonder and amazement and joy that it sort of overrides maybe any other symptoms that you're having. Although, I mean, I don't mean to minimize things like postpartum depression. I was lucky I didn't have that. And I know people do go through that, and it's really, can be very difficult. So, but for me, my personal experience was just, really, really positive. And I think that, for sure I didn't have as much energy as I did when I was 23, but you just kind of figure it out and you just make it work.
I love it. Well, I'm going to hold on to that because that's pretty encouraging. So let's hope that's the case.
I'm sure you're going to be great. And at least you have a team of other kids to help out.
I do. And they've gotten excited. They did not think it was cool when I told them, but they're excited now.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, they have a chance to be real, especially the 10-year-old, to step up and be mature and help out. So you often talk about reclaiming your spark. Can you help explain what you mean by that?
Yeah. So I think about it in a few ways. One, there's a lot of this idea that once you get to this point of perimenopause or menopause, it's like, I just want to go back. I want my old self back. And I get that. Like you want to feel good and energized, but I don't ever want to go back, right? Like we only want to be moving forward. I don't need to be who I was at 28. That girl had a lot to learn.
Yes.
Yes. She needed this life experience. And so to get where we are now is really special. And so if we can kind of start to, like what I mentioned before, like take that agency back and reclaim what is now, that just makes me excited. There's a whole new phase coming. All of our lives are shifting. If you're a mom and your kids are maybe leaving or they're growing up, they're teenagers, your career is shifted, everything is changing. And so it's a real opportunity to dig in and be like, who am I? Who am I now? What do I like? And yeah, I mean, that ties in with perimenopause. Like if you can start to take agency of that and get yourself feeling better, you've got a much better chance of really like regaining who you want to be.
Yeah, I think it's a lot less about why is this happening to me versus this is another chapter, which is not, necessarily worse or better, but it's just another chapter with its own experiences and journey. And if we can look at it that way, it feels so different than sort of this idea of I'm getting old and this is what's happening to me. So I think we just need to reframe it, which is, I think, a great note to end on. And by the time this podcast goes live, you're going to be a mom of your sixth child.
Right. I should really come up with a name. I'm
sure it'll come to you at some point. I've got to
get prepared.
I have a very good friend who had a baby at 51 last year. And she could not decide on a name. And I think it took her a year to name her daughter.
No,
so yes.
I've never heard of that. Wow.
I know, it took her a really long time. But now she's 1.5 and she has a name. So
success.
Success. So thank you so much for joining us. This was such an interesting conversation, and wishing you the best of luck. Stay in touch.
I really appreciate you. I love everything you're doing. You're so talented, and thanks for having me.
Thank you. And how do people find you? What's your website?
Yeah. Okay. Notyoung.com. So super easy. Notyoung.co is, I think, Instagram. It's probably the same for TikTok, though I've got to be honest, I just cannot get my gumption up for that one.
That's all right. You'll get there.
And then if you want to listen to the podcast, it's Not Young Better, and it's anywhere that podcasts are played. So,
all right. Amazing.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.